Hi everyone, my name is Rachel Smets from expat2inpet.com. You can find all my details here below. And today I will be talking about writing your CV or resume. First of all, what's the difference? What's a CV and what's a resume? Talking about your talents and your skills. But then the very important part, the content of your CV. What do you need to put in there? What is attractive for the employer? What are the best sections in your CV? I will tell you all about that. So if you want to reach me, all my details are here below, expat2impact.com. That's me. Let's get started. I want to give you a lot of information that I hope you can use if you apply for a job. So first of all, let me just shortly explain to you, why do people sometimes say CV and why do people sometimes say a resume? Now, a CV is usually a full document of 1 or 2 pages with all of the content of your biography, who you are, your address, but also your education and your job profile, your previous jobs. It's very content-wise, very concise. So it has your publications, your educations, your career, your jobs, your awards, your hobbies, your interests. So everything about you in 1 or 2 pages. A resume, on the other hand, is more of a concise document of very maximum 1 page. And the goal there is to make the individual or yourself then stand out from the competition. So it's very different depending on where it's for, who it's for, and who it is. Okay, so usually a resume is what you will hear people talk about in the US and in Canada, whereas a CV is very commonly used in the UK, all over Europe, in India, in South Africa. So a CV is much more common. A resume is people talking about it from the US or Canada. So a CV is what I will be talking about today. It's the full document, a detailed content of who you are and what you achieved and what your career looks like. And a CV, we always say CV, by the way, it's Latin for curriculum vitae, which means course of life. So in your life, in chronological order, what have you done career-wise? Okay, so CV, different from resume. And now it's clear to you what it is, right? So, sorry about that. Moving forward. Okay, so things you need to think about before you start writing your CV are your qualities about you and the qualities for the job. You will write a CV when you have a job in mind, when you are thinking about certain specific jobs, okay? So then you think, okay, maybe I am now applying for a sales job. Then I need to have good communication skills, good negotiation skills, maybe some good mathematical skills, writing skills. So interaction skills, for example, languages, for example. So all of these qualities that go with the job of a salesperson. Then I will think, okay, my name is Rachel. What are my qualities for this job? And therefore, I put a whole series of words here. Am I tidy? Am I talented? What do I need for this job? And I want in my CV to make sure all of my qualities are on there. So, are you, for example, a responsible person? A good communication skills that is needed for a sales job, for example, of course. Are you talkative? Are you fashionable? Do you have any leadership skills? If you go for a manager job, for example, you need some leadership skills. Let's see, decisive, secretive. Are you creative? Some jobs really require a creative mind. Okay, imaginative. Are you sociable if you need to interact with a lot of people? Let's see, political, encouraging. Are you very patient? Sometimes it's also needed for a job. So on the left you see helpful, sincere, thoughtful, considerate, warm-hearted. So all of these are a series of words that you can use in your CV to describe yourself and to make you more attractive for a specific job. All right? Lots of words that you can use. Now, when we go to the CV itself, this is a part of my own CV, basically, that you can see here. I'm gonna boil it down now into sections. And these are the sections that I also use in my CV and that are very common to use in your CV. And it makes it very structural and easier for you to fill in the details that belong to you. So to start with, you start with your personal details. I will give you a bigger view of my own CV in a few slides, okay? So hold on. Okay, so first of all, you start with your personal details, right? So what's your name, last name, first name, marital status, your age, your birth date, your nationality, maybe also a link to your LinkedIn profile, because LinkedIn is not really, well, it's a social media platform for professionals. So having a LinkedIn link there is not a bad thing. You also include your phone number. Well, anyway, your personal details, okay? That's very important in the first part, and that's the part, I don't know if you can see it here. Also, my email is on there, by the way, my telephone number. So this is the very first section of your CV, all right? Okay, then your personal profile, and then we arrive on a second part in your CV. So your personal profile is like a mini advertisement for you, and it summarizes you. So you say, okay, this is me. These are my skills and qualities, my work background, my achievements, my career aims. Just a few lines to grab that reader's attention. And really, I put it here into bullet points. You don't have to use bullet points. You can use just a few lines. But it's like a short biography, and it really gives a first impression to the person reading your CV. They want, when somebody reads a 2-page document, it's like when you read a book, you want to quickly, briefly read the chapter overview, read the chapter's content, you know, or just the back cover of the book, like, hey, wait a minute, what is this book about? So it's the same with your CV. You have a 2-page document full of details, but who is really this person? Who is Rachel? Okay, well, here I am. This is me. I've worked in several areas. My skills and qualities are I can negotiate, I can talk, I speak 6 languages, I'm looking for an international job. I'm just making this up, guys. But in a few lines, you just say, hey, I'm really here for you guys. I'm qualified for this job, and I have these and these skills and qualities to help you and for you to hire me, basically, what you're saying. So very short, 2-3 lines. It's just a little section that you see here, which in a few lines sums up, this is me, Rachel Smets. I've been working for a while. I have experience. I know my languages. I know interactions. And yeah, please read my CV. And then you move on to the details. Okay? So, very first section, personal details, address, phone number, email. Then personal profile, very short biography. Imagine yourself as an author and you just write your little, like, what about this author? Okay, a little biography. And then we move on. All right? As I promised you, this is my own CV, which I just want to show you so you have so you can see what we're talking about here. I have my personal details. See? My address, my phone, all up here. Then I have a personal profile. I've been living and working abroad. It made me very flexible, adapt to other people and countries. I speak 6 languages. So this is a brief biography of myself. Then I move on to the whole professional experience. Chronologically, you do so. Then you go on to your education. Again, chronologically, when did you do your bachelor? When did you do your master's? When did you do high school? Okay, or other diplomas. Then there's a section of all my languages, because you have to make a difference in what is native, what is fluent, what is professional, okay? And then other interests and other diplomas. Okay, so this gives you an overview of how a CV looks like, which I've used many times in a very successful way, because when I send this CV, it already, it gave me jobs opportunities, so it works. I just need to go back. Let's see, got that, yes, okay. Employment history is what I showed you, okay, so let me show you again. Employment history is this whole section here. I call it professional experience. You can call it whatever you want, as long as it's, let's see, employment history, work experience, work history. You can call it what you want. But if you have had any jobs, you can put it in there chronologically. So you show, okay, now I'm currently working here. Last year or 5 years ago, I worked there. I worked for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. So you put in a chronological order. If you haven't had a job yet, maybe you should think about, maybe you did some volunteer jobs. Maybe you worked in a supermarket. Maybe any kind of job. People always think it needs to be a very professional job in a company, but it can be a job as a volunteer. It's a job. Did you maybe go abroad for several months to work as a volunteer? It's also good. Have you worked in your nearby area? Maybe you haven't thought of that, but you can use it in your CV, okay? Then, education and training. Here is when you list chronologically your education. When did you start your school, your high school, your bachelor degree, another educational degree, maybe a master's degree, everything that's educational and training, other diplomas maybe some types of education are only a few months, evening schools, day schools. I mean, anything educational and diplomas that you achieved, put it here, okay? Any qualification. Usually bullet points look good. That's what I usually use. It gives a nice overview to the person who's reading it. So university, college, dates, of course, of the qualifications, work-related courses if they're relevant, sometimes for work or a job, or you did a course or a training, anything really, it goes in here, okay? Anything that you can come up with, put it in here, because it's attractive. The more qualifications, the more you are attractive, right? So hey, don't hesitate to put it in there. For me, it's this section here, based on the years that I did it: university, school, bachelor, master's, certified assessor in business. So that's that. Okay, we've got the employment, we've got the education, and now we come to the last part. This is, in my case, my last part here, the interests and achievements. Now I have to say, don't forget this, because a CV is really not only about career and education, but also who you are as a person and what you have achieved, maybe in sports or in your hobbies. And I have to say, this section is something that every time I have a job interview that I have been talking about, that I have received questions about. So the employer who wants to hire you, he does really look at this section. So interests and achievements, hobbies, interests. It can be relevant to the job or not, but For example, I wrote in here a lot of sports activities. I wrote in there volunteer work that I did, cultural travel achievements. So it gives the employer an overview of, hey, Rachel is sportive, she's competitive because I competed in many competitions in my sport, which makes me a competitive person in my work, which makes me maybe also a bit of a perfectionist and a ambitious person. That's the word I was looking for. And I also wrote in here volunteer work. I wrote in there traveling. So it makes you an open-minded and a cultural-minded person. So regarding to whatever job it needs to be, hey, it can be attractive for the employer. So yeah, I mentioned it, and so I advise you to do so. If you have any travel experience, maybe you have cultural experience, maybe you have language experience, put it in there, okay? And then additional information, I have a lot more other diplomas that are not really belonging in the education sector, because the education is really what I use for bachelor, master, school, high school. And here in other diplomas, I have, for example, Reiki, reflexology, massage therapy. So these are things, running therapy I am. So I didn't really put it in education because these are diplomas that didn't take me 5 years, but it went faster, but it is relevant. I mean, also I have a first aid diploma, medical. So these are the things I put in here. And at last, what I wrote here is references. Now that's something that sometimes for some jobs they ask, and what I have put in, and sometimes they will ask you, do you have any references? Do you have other ex-employers or ex-colleagues that we can call to ask about you? Sometimes it's important to put in there, and then you put some references in there, some referee, okay? So that's it. That's the whole CV in several sections. I know I went on pretty quickly, but at least it gives you a good overview. Sorry about that. So this gives you a very good overview of what needs to be in your CV. All right. Thank you all very much for your attention. I hope you enjoyed.